They said Caitlin Clark is day-to-day. Who remember the Caitlin Clark day-to-day? Everything right now is just day-to-day. When you got a front office that's spoon-feeding the fans information, when you got a front office that then announced she was going to not play until an hour and a half before the game, yeah, I think it's about time to give the fans some transparency with these injuries on this damn injury report. Because guess what? The fans spoke. And you want to know what happened when the fans speak?
The Indiana Fever thought they buried this controversy, but a massive media bombshell just proved the fans right, and all lands directly at the feet of Stephanie White. What should have been a standard injury update for Caitlin Clark has violently erupted into the WNBA's absolute worst PR disaster of the season.
Now, there was a clip to go with this, but it's been reported that too much side explanation. Two-time WNBA All-Star responds to Fever handling of Caitlin Clark injury. Now, only a few could have predicted that Caitlin Clark will be sitting out a single game, which snowballed into one of the league's messiest off-court stories this season. It all traced
the front office weaponized silence, waiting until a brutal 90 minutes before tip-off to finally announce she was benched. Think about the sheer arrogance of that move. Blindsiding a fan base that drops thousands of dollars on flights, hotels, and premium.
The ability to buy time and also withstand like the narratives on the outside. Dallas is real, and they're going to be better than what even I expected. Thinking, oh, they're going to win some games. They're going to be a team that is going to be hard to knock out.
Yeah, I agree. And then, I mean, since we're talking about Paige, we're talking about Aiden.
The fallout is officially undeniable, as evidenced by an explosive Essentially Sports headline declaring too much side explanations after a two-time All-Star publicly dragged the Fever's toxic handling of the injury report.
Clark, like, injury report thing, I thought it was kind of like blown. I was like, this is a lot for no reason. I'm like, the injury reports? What?
I think sometimes when too much side explanations going on, people are like, what's really going on here? You know what I'm saying? That we're reading into the injury reports. Now we're reading into the words of the coach. And then the coach is not like standing 10 toes down on it. It just gets to confusion. I moved on. Like,
I don't even.
The fallout is officially undeniable, as evidenced by an explosive Essentially Sports headline declaring too much side explanations after a two-time All-Star publicly dragged the Fever's toxic handling of the injury report.
This is good. Now that I think about it, this is very much good, because I had not seen this thing in its entirety. But for her to be calling her out for kind of misusing her words doing this is big to me, because it's showing that people is paying attention to Stephanie White. And I guess us content creators is just, I don't know, right, been right, always right. And then now y'all.
When side explanations start piling up, the public instantly smells a cover-up, and Chiny hit the nail directly on the head. When reading an official injury report transforms into a deceptive guessing game, and the head coach refuses to stand 10 toes down on her own words, it breeds a massive cloud of toxic confusion. Stephanie White wasn't standing firm. She was backpedaling, stuttering, and weaponizing endless excuses because she knew she was trapped in a PR nightmare of her own making. Hearing a highly respected, heavy-hitting national analyst publicly execution style dismantle an active head coach for completely losing control of her own words is an absolute seismic shift. This bombshell completely validates every single warning we content creators have been dropping from day one. The ultimate irony here is that Stephanie White actually moonlights as an elite ESPN analyst, a career built entirely on the foundation of sharp, flawless communication. Yet the moment she is handed the keys to the most valuable franchise in women's basketball history, she completely fumbles the microphone. Caitlin Clark is bleeding for this franchise, absorbing brutal physical defenses, and carrying an unprecedented mountain of public pressure, meaning she damn well deserves a calculated, fiercely transparent coaching staff backed by a championship-caliber front office. Not a disorganized circus winging it on the fly. Caitlin Clark needs a better coach, period. I want to hear from every single one of you in the comments right now. Is Chiny Oglemike 100% correct for dragging Stephanie White? Does this front office of the fans a massive apology? And how much longer can this franchise survive before they are forced to make a drastic change? Smash that like button to weaponize this video in the algorithm. Subscribe for the unfiltered truth about the WNBA. And ring that notification bell. so you never miss a hit. Fueled by a total collapse in organizational transparency, no one is blaming the franchise for managing back spasms. The fury stems from a deceptive, shifting narrative that substituted clear communication with chaos, leaving analysts and reporters chasing a moving target. Stephanie White repeatedly went on a record only to butcher the messaging, flip-flopping from probable to a string of vague day-to-day excuses that traded clarity for deep suspicion. Now, with national powerhouse China Wnba publicly exposing these management fractures, the illusion of control has completely shattered, throwing the entire Indiana front office directly into the line of fire. Tickets just for a fraction of a second to watch Caitlin Clark play. We are talking about an elite superstar who single-handedly commands over 26% of the entire league's economic engine, treated like an afterthought by an organization that hid her medical status until the arena seats were already paid for and filled. You ambush the fans' wallets. You trigger an absolute war, and the resulting community backlash was so deafening that major national sports media had no choice but to weaponize the story and put the front office on blast. What began as a single-game absence has snowballed into the absolute messiest, most destructive off-court disaster of the entire WNBA season. This brings us straight to the absolute climax of this public relations nightmare. China Wnba stepped onto Sue Bird's podcast and utterly dismantled Stephanie White, exposing a total inability to control the narrative and leaving the organization's credibility in absolute ruins. What began as a single-game absence has snowballed into the absolute messiest, most destructive off-court disaster of the entire WNBA season. This brings us straight to the absolute climax of this public relations nightmare. China Wnba stepped onto Sue Bird's podcast and utterly dismantled Stephanie White, exposing a total inability to control the narrative and leaving the organization's credibility in absolute ruins.